Okay, so I made a little mistake, so you didn't see it, haha. I'm redoing the making of these solutions, and you don't know that because I'm going to show you like it never had made a mistake. But I'll show you at the point where I made a mistake, and hopefully I won't do it again. All right, so I want to make up the first solution, which is 2 times 10 to the minus third. I'm using 2 to 10 to the minus second to make up that solution. All right, so here's my concentrate, my stock. Okay, and I only want to take 25 mils of this and add it to a volumetric flask, which is this guy. The volumetric flask is a really good tool for measuring precise volumes. So it's got a teardrop shape to it, and you'll notice it has a line right here. Okay, and that's the line that will bring the volume up to. Now, here's another 250. This has its line at a different point. Okay, and that's because when they made these, they made them. They don't just make them through automation. They make the teardrop part all the same, but they have to make sure they have a device that makes sure that line is exactly where it is. So each volumetric flask will have their line in a different spot. And so when we fill this, this will have the volume of the solution. The meniscus will be on the bottom of that line. Okay, but I'm not going to be making the solution first with this guy. Instead, I'm going to do it with a 250 ml beaker, which is not precise. So if I were to use this for my volume instead of this, okay, this has a range of 5%, while this has a range of 0.3 to 0.24. So this is way more precise than this. But I'm going to use this to get started, and you'll see they don't want to make any mistakes with this. I want to make sure that everything gets set up in my beaker, and then what I'm going to do is transfer it to my volumetric flask. All right, so let me move in a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some water to this guy. I'm not going to add 250 mils. I'm going to add a lot less. I'm at about 100 because I want to make sure that I don't get over 250 on my beaker. This is basically my mixing spot. All right, so they're to about 100. You don't have to get exactly. Okay, and now I'm going to take, this is a pipette. It's like a big eyedropper. And this guy is 25 mils. And it has marks to the 10th. That actually means we can measure it to the 100th. Okay, so I'm going to, from my solution here, my stock, I am going to take out 25 mils and then put it in my beaker. Okay, so next thing is I got this guy here. This is called a pipette pump. Put that on the pipette. Okay, it's on there pretty good, which you want to do. All right, and then I'm going to put it in my stock solution, and then okay. Now you see the wheel up on the top there. Now when I start rolling it down, what it's going to do is it's going to start pulling the liquid up. There's a suction. There's acts as a suction, and what I want to do is I want to get it right to the top there because that's 25 mils. So all right, so I don't know if you can see it, but it's real close to 25. It drips out a little bit. So what I do is I bring it about over to 25, and then when it slowly gets down, just let it out a little. I bring it over, and then doing the wheel in the opposite direction, I get it to go out. And I do that until it gets to the bottom. Not the complete bottom, but where there's a line there that tells me okay, done. All right, so I got 25.00 mils on my stock. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to rinse out the pipette with deionized water. Trust that I'm doing it. Doing it in the sink. Because we're going to be using it again. And then the key is to really try to be precise and rinse things out as much as you can. You don't want, you're trying to not have contaminations or previous concentrations affect anything in the future. All right, so hopefully that does the job. Set that aside. Let me go down. And now what I want to do is I want to mix it up a little bit. The way I'm going to do that, I'm going to take a stir bar and I place it in the beaker and start stirring it. And really don't need a whole lot of mixing, but I would just want to show you. And what you want to do is get a nice little vortex. You don't want to just jump around, splashing all over the place. Vortex, you get a little like a little tornado in there, and that's it. So there's a little pinks on there. That's fine. Okay, so I'm going to say it's mixed up. So I'm turning off the stir bar, and now I'll continue. Now, this isn't my final destination. Okay, this is my final destination. Labeled number 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the beaker solution, beaker, which is not the correct volume, therefore the right concentration, to my volumetric flask. Okay, so I'm going to add, okay, funnel down, this is a really good life skill to have if you're going to work in a lab. Because this is, I don't know, my second job in a lab was to make solutions. And, because you're making them all the time, especially if you get into biology or biochemistry. Okay, right. So, I have my funnel, and what I want to do is add my liquid. Alright. Okay, now there's still part of some of my liquid in this funnel, and I even had my stir bar fall in there. So I'm going to rinse out my funnel and my stir bar. Okay. And now I want to take out my stir bar. What I do is I take a bigger stir bar and just take it out like that. Set it aside. Okay, next step. Next step is to add distilled water so that it's to its mark. Now I'm going to add it with, oh, I forgot. I have to rinse out my beaker because there's leftover in here. So I use a water bottle and I just rinse it out. And it's good to do it like, maybe I'm going to do it 4 times. 3 or 4 times. You want to get all of your solution. Okay. All right. Now I need to bring up the volume. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my stock water and I'm going to add it to my solution. I'm going to add it slowly because this is where I messed up before. I'm going to add it slowly until it gets to the neck. And what I did wrong last time is I left the funnel touching the neck. And when it does that, it's not, as I add it, it's not going into the water. And so it wasn't going into the solution. And then when I picked it up, it went flying all over the place. Okay, so you want to have just enough air that allows to move in there. So I'm going to add okay, have to be careful. I don't want to do it again. All right. Okay, I'm not there. I am not to where I want to be, but I can get there real easy. Now I need to be precise. I'm using a water bottle to get me to where I want to get. So what I'm going to do is I add water carefully, slowly, because it drips alongside the neck. And you want to make sure you get that neck water. Okay. I go a little bit more. All right. Okay, so I got it up to line. Okay, so next thing I need to do is mix it. Because it's not mixed, I mean it's fairly well mixed. So I put a top on it. Okay, and basically I'm going to turn it upside down. Alright. Okay, that's mixed. I'm just going to set this aside now. Alright, I'm going to be using that guy in a minute to make up my next one. All right, so next one I'm going to do is number 2, and basically go through the same process. I'm going to take, instead of using a stock, I'm going to use number 1 to make up number 2. So again, I'm going to use my beaker. I already rinsed it out. Now I'm going to add about 100 mils of water. Stir bar. And then I am going to take up 25 mils of my solution. Okay. All right. So I mixed it up. Okay, and then I added it to my beaker. I added it to a graduated cylinder just to see if it gets close to 25 on the graduated cylinder. I didn't have to do that, but I did, so I got to rinse out my graduated cylinder as well as my pipette. Okay. All right. Okay, next thing to do. So stir them up. I mean, it's pretty well already stirred up. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer it to number 2, which is the next solution. Same thing, I'm going to all right. Again, I rinse out the filter, funnel I mean, and a stir bar. Set both those aside. I'll get back to in a minute. I want to rinse out my actually I should leave my funnel on there. Rinse out my beaker. I'm going to do it 4 times. When I first started doing lab, they told me to do it 7 times. But I'm going to only do it 4. Something magic about 7. Alright, so there you go. So now I have to bring it up to my line. Okay. Sorry I didn't change the viewpoint of that. But basically, I went through all of that, same way I did before. Okay, so, right, now I want to bring it up to 250. I'm going to use my stock water. Again, I'm going to be careful that I don't overfill it. Just to the bottom of the neck. Okay, got to be careful there. Because if you're sloppy and you're adding it fast here, and when you're here, it'll start going up really, really fast, okay? So, okay, now I'm going to do get the final volume up with my water bottle. Again, I need to add, slow down. You want to get that neck water. There's actually a lot of little drops of neck water that kind of mess things up, but that's good. Okay, now I'm going to mix it up, put the top on it. And there you go. There's number 2. And if you look at the 2, you can see that they're quite a bit different in terms of their makeup. Okay. All right. So I have number 1, number 2. Now what I'm going to do is make up my. So I'm going to use number 1. So number 2 is going to be used for 2 experiments. It's going to be used for the first experiment and the second experiment. So it's 20 times 10 to the minus 4th. And from that, number 1, I mean, made a mistake there. Or did I? No. Okay, so I'm now going to make my 55 times 10 to the minus 4th using the, well, I'm going to make 10 to the minus 4th using number 1. Okay, so that's going to be this guy. It's a 10. And so I'm going to take 50 mils of number 1, and I'm going to, and then 50 mils of water. Okay. So I'm going to use, this time I'm going to use a graduated cylinder to measure out the 50 mils. All right. Okay, so 50 mils of number 1, and I'm going to add it to volumetric flask. Okay. I want to rinse out the funnel. I could have done this in a beaker as well, but ideally, I guess you should do that. But here you go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the rest of it water. So I'm making 100 mils of this. So I'm going to add again to the bottom of the neck. Gotta be careful here. Okay, close enough. All right, now fill the rest up. 200 mils. And you want the meniscus just above the water. I mean the line. And okay, there we go. It's a tiny bit above, but I'll go with that. All right, so there's my 10. All right. Okay. All right, now I'm going to use my stock to make up my last solution. And so I'm going to take, it says 15 mils, and I'm going to use, this time I'll make it up in my beaker. Okay, so I'm going to add, not very much. Actually, I'm going to make it in a volumetric flask. So I'm just add a little bit of water to it. Okay. Hopefully that's not too much. And I want to add 15 mils of my stock. Okay. And I'm going to use the pipette. So I'm bringing it up to where it says 10. So if I brought it all the way to the top, it says 0, but that's actually 25. So I'm bringing it up to 10 because that's 10 less than 25 or 15. So oh boy. Okay, there we go. All right, so I have my, need to fill this up with water now. So okay. All right, and there we go with that one. And okay, here's my solutions. And I'm turning off the video now, and then we're gonna show you how to do the experiment. Okay.